journalism. Okay, so two off. Privacy, tech leadership, journalism.
Tech leadership, privacy, and journalism. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, privacy, and tech leadership. Let me sandwich. Terrorism. First, risk of terrorism. Wait, you ready to go? I'm ready.
Yeah, I was ready about Canada, yeah.
Okay. Terrorism. First, the risk of terrorism is the highest since 9/11. Revenue at Al 15. The U.S. is facing the most concentrated period of terrorist activity in the whole since 9/11. Despite terrorism, regardless of spread of Islamic State. Al-Qaeda formed a unit to recruit privates who hold American passports. Hundreds, maybe thousands of individuals across the U.S. are being contacted by ISIS to attack the U.S. Lone wolf terrorists can strike at any moment. Explicit and public statements by multiple terrorist groups and recent surge plots and attacks demonstrate the threat of terrorism on the rise. The agency works at the very foundation of U.S. intelligence. Its information on foreign development is comprehensive and reliable. Any efforts to rein in the agency risk serious damage to the U.S. security. The decline of the central government, authority in the Middle East and North Africa, and the war in Syria has made the job of intelligence more labor-intensive, more detail-oriented, and more demanding. Now is not the time to give up any tool in the counterterrorism arsenal. Third, strong and steady intelligence is critical to prevent WMD terror attacks, including the use of nuclear weapons. Pinnaker 14. Platforms for attack, including physical assets, cyber, chemical, biological, nuclear, was greater today than before 9/11. With terrorists stronger, more sophisticated, or more training camps, and having more training camps, U.S. efforts are primarily and essential for peace and security around the world. Finally, nuclear terrorism causes accidental U.S.-Russian nuclear war. Each all believe they've been attacked by the other. Barrett Al 13. War involving significant fractions of the U.S. and Russian nuclear arsenals could have globally catastrophic effects, such as collapse of modern civilization and extinction of humanity. Inadvertent nuclear war could be caused. Terrorist groups or other actors might cause attacks in either the U.S. or Russia that resemble some kind of nuclear attack by the other nation by exploding a stolen or improvised nuclear bomb. Al-Qaeda has sought to obtain and construct nuclear weapons to use them against the U.S. War powers. First, presidential war powers are strong. Obama has maintained presidential power. Goldsmith 14. His announcement that he will expand the use of military force against the Islamic State without congressional consent marks an astonishing legacy of expanding presidential war powers. Obama proclaimed the power to use unilateral force for purely humanitarian ends, which has removed all practical limits on presidential humanitarian intervention. Second, the plan is a crushing blow to present and future presidential war powers. U-14. Keeping the intelligence question to Congress and the court. The courts undermined the Oval Office by reversing the polarity of its constitutional powers. Only a single president can marshal the nation's resources to effectively protect its security. Congress is considered unprecedented restriction on targets, databases, search methods. It is not just in Obama's interest to avoid this date. No party benefits in the long term from weakened execution in foreign affairs. Third, strong war powers provide necessary flexibility to prevent WMD proliferation and attacks. U-12. A radical change in the system for making war could seriously threaten American national security. The executive branch needs flexibility. Congressional deliberation leads only to passivity at the price of speed and secrecy. As we confront the challenges of terrorism, rogue nations, and WMD proliferation, now is not the time to introduce untested changes in the way we make war. Finally, proliferation is global nuclear war. Gulf 2. Widespread proliferation is likely to lead to an occasional shootout with nuclear weapons and have a substantial property of escalating maximum destruction possible unless nuclear proliferation is stopped. Privacy. Not unconstitutional. NSA internet collection doesn't violate privacy. NSA's activities are pursuant to statutory and subject judicial law. No matter how much satisfying it may be, the NSA can collect a gigantic quantity of internet data without violating any statutory or constitutional law falls on the legal side of the line. What defines the agency's legal authority is what the court actually ruled, not what later critics think they should have ruled. Second, privacy is already dead. Tech companies are a greater threat than NSA. Stern 14. Framing decisions as a contest between privacy and security is misguided. Privacy died with the information age. Facebook 1 billion active users share roughly 5 billion items a day, not count the data Facebook collects. Google collects personal information, data about the services used, the server logs, location information, storage data, and other identifying information. Its policy is standard for the industry. This information is personal, but as soon as we voluntarily share it with others, the information stops being truly private. There is no impact to privacy. It's just personal false advertising. There's no harm to people with nothing to hide. Pause 13. Privacy, a euphemism for concealment, hiding specific aspects of a person. We want to present a sanitized version of ourselves, highlighting the good, hiding bad. A good deal of privacy facilitates false advertising and reduces the well-being of society as a whole. Fourth way consequences. The Constitution is a suicide pact. Pause 6. Of the program's concrete values as a counterterrorism measure are more important to most people than the legal questions. Debating legality without first trying to assess the consequences, put the cart before the horse. Legal questions begin by asking what social policies are at stake. Suppose the NSA program bound to the nation's defense and its impediments are civil liberties in sight. You want to know how close to a suicide particular legal interpretation will bring before you decide to embrace it. Security outweighs privacy. Without security, privacy is meaningless. No right can be meaningfully exercised in absence of security. Privacy has little value if one significantly risks death or grievous bodily injury. Since privacy interests lack insignificance in the absence of security, it seems reasonable that security interests deserve the moral matter more stringent protection than privacy interests. Tech leadership advantage. Alternative casualty. STEM worker shortage hamstring the U.S. tech sector. Tech CEOs 13. One of the biggest economic challenges is the need for more highly skilled professionals who can immediately improve our economy. Our current immigration system is outdated and inefficient. Many high-skilled immigrants are unable to obtain permanent visas due to shortages, long waits for green cards, and lack of mobility. 5 high-tech companies alone have combined 10,000 openings in the U.S. Alternative casualty. High taxes hurt the U.S. tech industry. Video 15. Finance chief cite policy and tax changes as the top factor inhibiting overall business growth. 41% believe that domestic tax system hampers their ability to effectively compete in the global marketplace. U.S. tax rates are too high relative to other countries. Status quo solved. The Freedom Act boosted trust in the U.S. tech companies. Smith 15. The Freedom Act will bring significant surveillance reforms while maintaining national security. Coalition of tech companies call on Congress to change the surveillance law. The Freedom Act will increase trust in technology by allowing companies to publish detailed transparency reports. Increasing transparency and accounting. No impact. Enduring geopolitical strength prevent relative U.S. economic decline. Mesler at L13. Through years of American decline will continue. The U.S. will be able to draw on enduring absolute geopolitical strength. It is positioned as a dominant security actor. It is privileged position in the most global institution. Its internal security, which is more robust, India or China, its growth potential, especially when compared to the EU. No comparative impact. There is no economic base for the theory of competitiveness. Chromosome 94. The idea that countries' economic fortunes are largely determined by success on world markets is flatly wrong. It is simply not the case that the world's leading nations are to any important degree in economic competition with each other. The obsession with competitiveness, skewing domestic policies, and threatening the international economic system, thinking in terms of competitive leads to bad economic policies. Investigative journalism advantage. No chilling effect. The impact is minimal. Holcomb et al. 15. Two-thirds of investigative journalists believe the U.S. has collected data about their communications. Concerns about surveillance have mostly fallen short of keeping many journalists from pursuing a story or source. Just 40% say concerns have kept them from pursuing a story. Alternative casualty. Resource shortages are a much better concern. Holcomb et al. 15. When asked to rank challenges facing journalists today, an overwhelming majority identify decreasing resources in newsrooms. No other issues come close. Encryption solves. Journalists are using it to protect sources. Stern 13. The Snowden revelations has sent shockwaves through the journalism landscape. We've seen a huge increase in trainings and discussions about security and encryption tools, and individual journalists and newsrooms that want to build these practices into their routines. These revelations have fundamentally changed the way that journalists are going to report on sensitive activities. Public opinion irrelevant. Only the rich and powerful can influence policymaking. Nesbitt 14. Elites control the terms of public debates and what gets acted on the national level. Majorities of the American public actually have little influence over the policies our government adopts. Because of the strong status quo bias built into the U.S. political system, even when fairly large majorities of Americans favor policy change, they generally do not get it. End.
So, in your terrorism one, so metadata actually helps terrorists because it's like one area where all the data is and they can hack into it. So what pros are there of having metadata in place?
Having metadata in place?
Yes.
The question.
What are the pros of having metadata in place right now? Because it's really helping terrorists. So what is your point of keeping it?
How does it help terrorists?
Okay, first of all, because terrorists will hack into anything to get what they want, and it's all data in one
Yeah,
area,
we're
which makes
asking
it
you what are
easier.
the pros to having it?
Yeah, why keep it in place right now?
Why keep it in place?
Yes.
Because we can survey all the data that comes in, so we can find the terrorists. They're not likely. I haven't hacked into it yet. It's not likely that they are.
Okay, but I'll move on. What do you mean by suicide pact in your privacy card?
What would you repeat? What card was that?
In your privacy.
Your workable cards of privacy.
Yeah, but
you said
those are 13.
Okay. The Constitution is not a suicide pact. It is saying that the revelation by the New York Times that the National Security Agency is conducting a secret program of
So what is a suicide
What
pact?
do you mean by suicide pact?
Basically, they're saying that by, like, if we curtail surveillance, then we're basically allowing more threats to come to the U.S., which is like, it's a suicide pact in a way that we're allowing threats into our lives.
Okay, moving on. So you said privacy is already dead right now, correct?
Yes.
So are you saying that we should do nothing to bring it up just because it's down right now?
So you're suggesting that we should
Well,
bring
that has
privacy up?
nothing to do with surveillance, personally, actually. We're talking about privacy is already dead, because so much of our information is shared public online.
Exactly, so it's dead right now, so you're saying we should do nothing to bring it up?
So we should, but how do we bring it up? It's voluntarily shared,
Because
so
getting rid of metadata takes away invading privacy of human citizens.
that doesn't make it privacy come back alive.
Yes, it does, but
It's already
do you have any
dead.
evidence that the NSA has actually saved anything in the past, any terrorist attacks or anything like that?
Would you repeat?
Do you have any evidence that the NSA has actually done anything to help us in the
No.
past?
But there was
I
no-
have evidence,
okay.
actually. We recorded, about the Boston bombing. They found the guy through surveillance, and
But did they find it through metadata
Metadata
specifically?
surveillance.
I don't know.
What's your credentials on that?
And also, if there are more, they're not gonna share you every terrorist attack they've thwarted. That's private information.
Well, no evidence and no proof. Okay, moving on. What do you mean by the Freedom Act in your tech leadership?
In my tech leadership,
Yes.
okay, let me go back